And anything to add?
Just on reducing the size of the legislature, I think when we do that, we also have to look at some of the gerrymandering process and where this district is, how this district is made up. When you have a district that stretches from Yatesville all the way to Fort City, and in between you have like 5 different districts squeezed in around it, it's very frustrating for the people of the district, and I think we need to make sure that they're a little more uniform so that the people can have the service they need.
Okay, thank you. We're going to stay with the topic of legislative reform. What suggestions do you have to improve the ethics of members of the General Assembly? Would the proposed Commission on Public Integrity serve this function? Why or why not? And the first response to you, Sid.
A committee, any committee that has to be utilized as a watchdog when it comes to ethics, we must make sure that it is an unbiased committee. It must be a committee that is going to look at the issues, look at the ethics, look at any complaints, look at everything in a fair and an equitable manner, and not be biased in any way. We also must make sure that when it comes to the ethics of our elected officials, that we do have an open and transparent government. Everything must be accounted for, everything must be open for the public to be able to examine, to be able to see, and to be able to lay their hands on, for lack of a better term. But when it comes to ethics, we must be as unbiased, as in the least partisan way, and the most open way that we can possibly be.
Dan.
I too would agree that we have to form an unbiased committee, and that we need to press our legislators and actually require more reporting, I think, of where their time is spent and how they actually conduct themselves. You know, when we look at the state of Pennsylvania and see that the top 2 Republicans are under indictment and the top 2 Democrats are under indictment, it proves that there's a fight over power, not over doing what's right for the people. And so therefore, you know, I mean, we've got to make sure that we have local input into our legislators as far as the ethics that where they're going.
Sid, anything to add?
Just one other thing. We can't allow our elected officials to be policing themselves either, because there's no doubt that there's going to be a biased view when you're policing yourself. So again, as I said earlier, I think we need an outside committee or an outside panel, and not even a bipartisan panel, an outside panel to police our legislature.
Okay, thank you. One last question on legislative reform. Again, League of Women Voters, where my heart lies. Many amendments to the Pennsylvania Constitution are proposed during every legislative session. Do you think it's time to convene a constitutional convention? Why or why not? And Dan, the first response to you.
If we can, if we go to the constitutional convention, the thing is that we have to be very careful. It has to be a very defined program and a defined goal of what we're looking to do. If we open up and allow private agendas to come into play, it'll fail, because I think that when individuals start to sway away from the decided goal and the efforts that need to take place, we'll really struggle.
Okay. Sid.
Andy, I'm in favor of a constitutional convention, but not a full-blown constitutional convention. I think we must limit it. We could look at things like per diems. We could look at things like size of legislature, possibly redistricting. But in doing this, especially at a time when our state is in such a financial crisis, we also have to be careful that even though a constitutional convention is needed, the costs could be great. I think there are some states have already looked into constitutional conventions and have found that the cost of such a gathering could be anywhere from 35 to 70, 75 or 80 million dollars. There are so many things that go into a constitutional convention. We must be careful that the convention is not abused, that the subject matter or the composition of the convention is not steered in a partisan way. We must be careful with that. And then on top of that, getting back to the cost, there are so many logistics involved. We have to get delegates to the convention. We have to get, again, topics for this convention. There has to be communications. There has to be lodging. There has to be meals for the delegates. So it's a great undertaking. And I think, first of all, while I agree with having a constitutional convention, we have to find how we could fund it, and we have to find how it can be done in a fair and unbiased way that will be best for the people of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Anything to add? We'll move away from legislative reform and onto the environment, and especially in the northern part of Lackawanna County, talking specifically about Marcellus shale drilling. And I want to focus specifically on the environment with this question and not on the severance tax, which we'll cover later. Given the opportunities and dangers inherent in natural gas drilling from Marcellus shale, how will you go about making decisions that will provide maximum protection to the environment and public health while capitalizing on the economic potential of this natural resource? And the first response to you, Sid.
I remember a few years ago being in on a committee hearing in Harrisburg where the Marcellus shale was first brought up. And at that time, the talk was about the great economic benefit and the jobs and everything that's going to come to Pennsylvania. But now, after talking with people and after we've had time to study and look at what's happening, it's become such a great environmental issue that it seems like every place I have the opportunity to go, everyone I talk to is really concerned about the environment. And while there are great economic benefits, I just think that we have to slow down. We can't, when it comes to a moratorium, I don't think we can tell the owners of, or the landowners who have leases with the drilling companies it's going to stop. Because many of these people are landowners who are struggling to keep their land. So I don't know if we can stop it altogether, but we need to slow it down. There's a reason why New York is not drilling. New York is watching what we're doing, and there's a reason for that. They don't want to make any mistakes. They want to see what we're doing, but we need to get it right the first time. And one of the ways we need to do that is to give our Department of Environmental Protection more teeth. It's not that maybe that they can't keep an eye on it, or maybe they can't. Maybe they need more manpower to keep an eye on this, but they also need more teeth. They can't be afraid to legislate. And when something's wrong, to go after these drillers. We need to allow the DEP to go after anybody that is damaging our environment. We need, even though you're going to hear that it's more bureaucracy, maybe we need to create another department within the Department of Environmental Protection to specifically look at these drillers and look at the drilling. And our infrastructure, our water, this is serious, and we really have to make sure we get it right this time.
Dan, same question to you.
The Marcellus shale issue is a tremendous issue to talk about because the impact that it could have on our area, both positive or negative, is probably the greatest issue that in my lifetime that we can consider. I have a 100-acre farm that we have a gas lease on. That was a farm that I was born and raised on. It's the farm that I raised 3 children on. Within a 5-mile radius, I have 19 family members, and actually in March it'll be 20, and April will be 21. Keystone College is within that 5-mile radius. We've got to make sure that we get it right the first time. And there's issues as far as, the Department of Environmental Protection have already said, there's issues as far as the sealing of the well casements. We cannot continue to put these off. We need to make sure that they're done properly now, because we cannot, and as a legislator, I will not allow it to ruin our water table.